That Great Business Show, officially Ireland's top business podcast, crowned UCD's Smurfit's Business Podcast of the Year.
Welcome to episode 265 of That Great Business Show, where we are now video stars on YouTube. And of course, we're still on the old platforms like Spotify that we still love. On this episode, why rugby stars Brian O'Driscoll, Caelan, Doris and Jordan Larmour are going back to grind school to try to make a few bob. And you have heard of Farm to Fork. Well, we bring you Farm to Fizz, a small Irish company taking on big brands like Schweppes and Fever Tree, one pour at a time. And proof that all great things come in small bottles, that is That Great Business Show's backer. That is De Facto Shaving Oil, the all-natural shaving oil made in Mayo, sold online to the world from defactoshave.com.
That Great Business Show.
Late Ray Kearns was a teacher in Gonzaga College in Dublin who decided correctly that there was a lot of money in school grinds. He made millions from such a simple idea. Now, three of our rugby stars, Brian O'Driscoll, Jordan Larmour and Caelan Doris, are hoping to do the same. They are named as some of the backers of Grinds 360 that has raised €3.2 million to democratise, as they call it, school grinds. Brendan Kavanagh is co-founder at Grinds 360 and he joins me in the studio. Welcome to That Great Business Show. What a falter wrote. You're off to make your other millions because you have another business, but we'll stick with this one today. Sure. But we'll, to back reference, what is the real business? The real business is called Olive.
Yeah, so the Grinds 360 model, from a technology point of view, you could argue that the foundation of the technology or hybrid learning, which is probably a new term for a lot of people, was founded in Olive for the last 18 years.
And what does Olive do?
Yeah. So education technology. In 2007, I founded Olive, and the main thing that was happening at the time, you'll remember, is bad news, recession, and also the advent of cloud technology. So in its first instance, what we wanted to do was help using cloud technology to bridge people into employment. And so we started there.
I'd say the first thing you wanted to do was make a living. And you were bringing two things together, i.e. technology and teaching. That's Which came first with you? Are you a tech, are you a teacher, or you have no interest in either?
Well, my first rodeo, I would say, was at the age of 24. I did a management buyout of a company in the oil and gas sector. And so I'm old enough to remember when service stations were batteries and tires. And then they went on a transformation, which is happening everywhere else now, to become superstores. So that first iteration for me, I did a management buyout when 24 of a company my father worked for, much to his horror. And
name names so that people know exactly what you're talking about.
So I did a management buyout of Retail Petroleum Solutions, which basically transformed service stations to become technology centers. So everything, I would call it, from everything, electronic transactions were measured from the tank to the bank. And so shops grew.
You spent hours thinking about that one, did you?
Yeah, absolutely. And then during that time, I'd been responsible for a lot of large blue-collar workforces, you could call them. And obviously, it being a dangerous environment, I was responsible for training and education and all that sort of stuff. So I became infatuated with training and education and how far behind the curve it was compared to everything else in the world in terms of technology. You know, you're herding people around to be trained for compliance and governance and all that in classrooms. And in 2007, after I'd sold that business and left the oil and gas sector, I set out to really sort of address the issue of bringing efficiency into education and training.
And where did that come from? I mean, you're oil and gas, as you say. In fact, you're petrol pumps. I mean, oil and gas sounds like you're out drilling in the North Sea.
Yeah, exactly. So while we rode the wave of technology in terms of transforming service stations to incorporate shops and retail and hospitality, as well as selling fuel, during that time, there was a lot of staff to be trained in terms of, behavioral skills around a dangerous environment like a service station, etc. And so that's where I kind of, came across the inefficiency in how people were trained. And so I set up Olive to address that. And in the late noughties, you'll remember, cloud technology was arriving, and the ability to be able to stream video and learning management systems were becoming more prevalent, and the internet and all that. So set up Olive to be able to provide efficiency and reduce the cost of training and scale how many people we could get through the pipe. And so when I formed that, the dynamic in Ireland was a lot of people were being laid off, in the recession. Yet the foreign direct investors, were rising here, the Intels and the Facebooks and all the rest of it. So Olive began by bridging people and, using platforms to give them the skills to get jobs in these new places. And that's how it started.
Got to ask about Olive. Olive, does it stand for something? Is it an acronym, or do you know a woman called Olive, or maybe a man called Olive?
Yeah, it's Olive Branch. It became that sort of olive branch of offering a service to people who were out of work.
Are you sure you're not working in the charity section, though? You're sounding like you're trying to cure the ills of the world.
Well, my view of those things that in some ways it's a bit like Grinds 360, which we'll talk about shortly, but in some ways the ability to democratize and give wider access, that's what technology is all about. Famous word, ubiquitous, you can be found anywhere. I became infatuated with that. In terms of the charitable nature of it, technology does disrupt, and the disruption usually brings the cost down. However, it does need to be sustainable, so I make no apologies for profitability. It becomes sustainable if it's profitable. Yeah.
And now you want to be, quote unquote, the Michael O'Leary of grind schools. Discuss. That's what you said to me.
Yeah, well, I've been, that has been sort of suggested by probably some of my adversaries as an insult, but I'll take it because he certainly democratized access to travel, right?
He's kind of good at what he does.
He's very good at what he does. So I'll take that. If providing access to people outside of South County Dublin to the same help as people inside, including myself, I did. I went to, you mentioned Peter Kearns earlier. I went for extra help there, but providing that across the country, technology has the ability to be able to, in a hybrid model, provide really high-end access to the sort of extra help that kids need in schools, and I would be an advocate to say, don't leave your school. We're on the side of principals and teachers, and that if you need a bit of extra help, this app provides all of that. Yeah.
Well, now, over the years, I have attended those same grind schools, and then my kids have gone to those grind schools. And there's a continuous thing there is, why do we need them? Because there's a question mark there. Very often, the same person who was teaching me in a school appeared in front of me in a grind school. And I'm just thinking to myself afterwards, hang on a second, I'm paying from the double for this. Now, I was in a CB school, so we weren't paying maybe the first tranche, but I was the second time, it was cash.
Yeah, sure. Well, when I looked at this, like being a technologist, what I like to do, and the whole idea of the hybrid model is bringing, the technology in underpinning what teachers do. And I was approached by Ronan Murdoch, who taught in these traditional grinds providers for over 15 years. And what he wanted to do was, bring in, these very experienced teachers who are specifically trained in that extra help. Because if you look at traditional schools, they have excellent teachers. And I think in today's market, the problem really is that, there's a scarcity of talent. They can't necessarily get moved to Dublin or fill in a lot of gaps. And principals are under a lot of pressure to provide it. And the reason for that is also associated with the housing crisis and all the rest of it. So I was looking at it more from the point of view of being able to use technology to scale that. And hybrid learning is, humans up front, humans with a lot of experience, teachers with a lot of experience, and they left those famous traditional grind schools because they're working 6 days a week and nights. And there's been a lot of talk about how much they're being paid and all that sort of thing. But if I was working 6 days a week and nights, I'd want to be paid quite well for that. They left and they joined us in Grinds 360 with a lot of experience. And so I would say, from the point of view of creating a scalable model that could host these very experienced teachers and then also make it, accessible across the country and disrupt, as I said earlier, on the price, taking the price down.
I was just going to pick you up. By how much?
So the average price for a grind outside of the day school model, which a lot of these schools, traditional grinds schools, have become really, I would say, an overpriced, sort of expensive private school option as distinct from what they set out to be. The average price for additional help or grinds in, say, one subject is about €2,000. Yeah.
£2,000?
Yeah.
For a grind, say in English, per year?
Per subject. And
you are joking.
Honestly, yeah. And yes. And so what we've managed to do is take that price down to an average of 1,000 for all 20 subjects.
You've stopped me talking. Are you saying that I can choose 6 subjects, whatever I'm doing for leaving, I get it all for 1,000?
Yes.
That is the Michael O'Leary model. I did not know that it was so competitive. I knew you were doing it on price. Yeah. Now, so therefore, why do you need 3.2 million? And more importantly, and answer me this first, please, what about the 3 lads? They are purely for show. Brian O'Driscoll, Jordan Larmour, and Caelan Doris. Yeah. They're purely for show, aren't they?
No.
They're just to get the kids to say, ooh.
No, they're actually invested in a number of my portfolio companies for a reason. Those guys know what it's like to be under pressure for a leaving cert or for an exam. And, in their careers, like they had to get their leaving cert like everybody else.
Yeah. They didn't, bright boys,
they didn't know that they would go on and play and have, sort of world-class careers with the likes of Leinster and Ireland and all the rest of it. So when we were pitching to investors, they could identify with the fact that this platform, each one of them, without exception, said immediately, if I had this when I was doing my leaving cert, where I could review in a Netflix type catalog format all of the subjects and subtitles, and also have very experienced teachers streaming every night through my app, recorded. I can go backwards, I can go forwards, and then the AI element where the student tracking, telling me where I'm weak, where I'm strong, and AI exam aggregation where I could aggregate all the past papers and create a full leaving cert in my bedroom based on complexity, etc.
You
That is the diverse nature of the app.
You do a very good sales pitch. Can I tell you that? I mean, you've actually just spent the last 3 minutes trying to convince me. I might go back and do my leaving.
There you go. Well, I'm actually one of them saying, if I had this,
the three
but
lads,
the numbers speak for themselves.
The three lads, they are, how would you call it? Kind of iconic for you. They are trophies.
They're terrific.
Marquee people is what I'm actually the word I'm looking for.
Yeah, terrific to have. Yeah.
Oh, of course it is. Now, why do you need 3.2 million?
So what we built out, if you look at the platform itself, what you have in there is, a number of engines. One being the learning management engine, to be able to provide, like I said, a Netflix type catalog of everything that you need, not just in terms of the streaming, the ability to be able to stream teachers on a nightly basis. Teachers now who have quite a good life, where they have the daytime to prepare their curriculum and then stream in the evening an hour-long course, and have the time to really enhance the student experience and chat to the students, etc. But also all of those repositories for each of the 20 subjects, over 3,000 hours of curriculum. So building that out is no mean feat, although we're familiar with the technology.
3.2 million.
And then obviously to hire the teachers.
Yeah.
So,
but have you got bigger ambitions? I mean, are you 26 counties at the moment, or do you go across Ireland, or do you go into the UK, or?
Yeah. So the performance, we opened the doors in, virtually speaking, in September 24. So for the first year, we developed out the platform, and then in September we began trading. And in our first year, we went from 300 students to 3,000 students, launched our app in January, iOS and Android, and 18,000 students. 65% of the students were from outside Dublin. So I would say it's quite consequential in the history of the state to have a national, accessible help in grinds for all students.
18,000 times 1,000, is that what we're talking about?
Well, no. So during the year, we do actually allow students, in our first year, we allowed them access to some of our workshops, some specific topics, etc. And that's, in our first year, it was 18,000. Yeah. But they will be paying. And so in our first year,
18,000, I presume.
So in our first year, just to give you, again, I'm very open about that. In our first year, we turned over 1.8 million over a 12-month period. And we opened this year, just after the Leaving Cert results, our platform just lit up, and we have done 2.4 million turnover in just August and the first 3 weeks of September.
Happy days, says
There you go.
Now, it's worked here. The model has worked here. Can you bring it abroad? Does it work abroad?
We will be in Northern Ireland with A-levels and GCSEs before Christmas. And we're also engaged in using the same technology for the SATs for American universities. Yeah,
that would be vast.
Yeah. So
why would you not go to the UK with the GCSEs, what are they called?
Well, some would argue that Northern Ireland is part of the UK.
No, I know what you're saying, but why would you not go? There's 70 million over there.
There is, yeah. And so the first, and the curriculum is the same in
for the
UK
they can
and
do
Northern Ireland. Yeah. And so the answer is we are, yeah. So it's just that the first part of the UK being Northern Ireland is before Christmas, and then we will roll that out right across the UK next year.
And how big is the SAT market, if you kind of get into that?
There are 1.8 million people between, just in Asia alone, who take the SATs
I was thinking of
every
America,
6 months.
Of course, the whole world does SATs.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And so we have a
beats
huge
petrol
amount of
pumps,
interest.
doesn't it?
Yeah, it sure does. It beats all of that the micro the technology that we were microprocessor. Remember that. So using AI now, the ability to be able to scale, that's really what makes it usable. And also the teachers themselves, like I would say that AI is not EI. Do you know what I mean? In the sense that we have a teacher first policy where the students really do need to engage with the teachers because you asked something earlier on that I didn't address when you say the same teachers in schools and like teachers are expected to teach to the whole class. And you and I both know intuitively that there's a midstream you're teaching and then there's people maybe that need more on the higher side.
Me.
And me more on the way I learned was visually. And so we seem to have struck it, very sort of well in the sense that we're meeting students, Gen Z is where they're at now, in the sense that in the rest of their life, they're very familiar with that technology and they're also familiar with video learning and visual learning. I would have been a visual learner.
Now, I started off by wondering what you were going to do with 3.2. Now I'm beginning to say, you need far more than 3.2 million. Will you go again?
Yeah.
When?
So we're already engaged with a lot of interested parties, both in the UK and in the
As
US.
investors.
Offering investment to grow. It's very unusual for a startup in its first year of trading, to be profitable. And I'm sure you're quite aware of that.
Yeah.
And so we've attracted a lot of attention. Yeah.
Happy days.
Yeah.
That is a nice complaint. And it's a lovely complaint for the three lads. Now I'm beginning to see, well, they've got the smarts.
Well, those guys have a window of time. And, I've found dealing with Brian and Jordan and Caelan that people would forget that they also need to provide for the future, so that they're actually, quite focused on, being, having a portfolio of investment that sets them up.
Like my fellow founder of the podcast, a man called Jamie Heaslip, who has built a nice little portfolio for himself. And that I meet regularly, and he seems to be very happy with life.
Well, if he's getting advice from you, perhaps the other guys will give you a call.
Now, we have a final question, which is, who would you, Brendan Kavanagh, hire in a heartbeat? I think you've got most of them already, but are there any other big names you might fancy?
Well, of course, Michael O'Leary.
It's a given, isn't it?
Yeah, because...
the man everybody loves to hate, but everybody wants to be.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. And I think... democratization and accessibility is something that's, I think technology, AI for good, because there's a lot of people worried about AI. This is an AI for good in the sense that it widens the reach and gives equitable access to everybody to have that extra little bit of help. And they don't need to leave their schools and their sports and their drama to go to what I would say is, don't break that bond. You don't need to. It's just another private school. Do you know what I mean? So stay where you are, and Grounds 360 will provide that little bit of extra help that you need.
As I said, you're a good salesman. One final thought for you. If you are heading into the States, go to the Digital Irish group. I don't know whether you've ever come across them or not.
Yeah.
They are magnificent.
Awesome. I'm actually in New York once a month at the moment.
There you go. So they're already looking after you, I hope.
Yeah.
That is fantastic. What a story. Please come back to us when you do the further land grab and you take on the world and all.
Be a pleasure.
It's a real eye-opener for me. It's a fantastic... That's why I love this podcast, is because I meet people like you and say, oh, wow, that is some business. Well done, Brendan Kavanagh. Tá fáilte agus tar nashún. Thank you so much, Brendan Kavanagh. And anybody who wants to find Grounds 360 is just grounds360.com.
And .ie. Yeah.
Cool. Very good. Thanks again. Slán.
That great business show.
Revolutionize your shave with De Facto, changing the face of shaving. A few drops of De Facto shaving oil and add water. That's it. You get the smoothest, closest shave ever. No mess, no waste. Just pure, all-natural skin protection that hydrates, lasts longer, and feels incredible. De Facto shaving oil. It's for anyone who shaves. Made in Mayo, loved worldwide. Available in selected pharmacies and at defactoshave.com.
I have a confession to make. I have some very, very odd habits. I read labels, for example, every kind of label, drinks labels, food labels, always looking for the oddball, always looking for the unusual, and best of all, always looking for businesses that I have not had on That Great Business Show. Now, Wexford-based Poachers is one of them. I was with somebody recently who had a G, August T, and I checked the back of the tonic water, one I hadn't seen before, and it was partially written Ascailge, so I was even more interested. So next up, chase down the owners of Poachers Drinks, and he is Brendan Colbert, who has decided that there's money in taking on the big names like Schweppes and Fever Tree. I know, it's an itch. It drives us all mad, and Brendan Colbert is laughing, but they won't be laughing when Schweppes gets you. Brendan, welcome to That Great Business Show.
Thank you for having me on, Cuddle. Much appreciated. Go me market.
Oh, Folterot, now tell me this. Of all of the things to do, there must be easier ways, because they are behemoths. Schweppes is owned by Coca-Cola, am I right?
That's right. It's a Coca-Cola brand.
And Fever Tree is another massive corporation.
Yeah,
I was looking at the results.
capitalised company, UK domicile company,
And Poachers isn't.
No, it's not. It's a really it started as a startup in 2017. I guess some people thought we were a little bit crazy, but it's grown.
And you've got no background there. You came out of Davy, you were an intern in Davy for a while. You were with Deloitte for a while.
Yeah.
Now there is family.
There is a history in hospitality there as well, actually. So my mother owned. Well, my mother and my family did own a public house in Wexford.
A public house, very
posh house, in Kilmuckridge, a pub called Boggins, actually, for many, many years. And actually we inherited through the family. So we had it in the family for about 120, 130 years. So hospitality is in the genes there somewhere.
But no connection with making tonic waters.
Making drinks, no, definitely not.
So where did that idea come from?
Yeah, so I guess around 2016, 2017, I had come back from abroad, actually, where I'd been working with Deloitte and few other bits and pieces, and this is as far back as 2005 now. I'll take you back a little bit for a second.
You went to Australia with them,
I did, yeah. I was in Australia with Deloitte. I worked in London for a little bit. Great company, really, really great company, great training, great exposure to loads of different industries. And then I had come back in 2005 and my mother had offered me a job in the farm, believe it or not, for a year. And we had a couple of other little bits and pieces that she was managing. So I say little bits and pieces. Should be cross with me if I said that. A little bit more substantive than that. But she offered me a job in 2005, and I stayed. I had the intention of staying maybe for a year, and so here I am, really nearly 20 years later, with a tonic and a mixer business
on the farm. And it's, as you say, it's slightly bigger than that. We'll agree.
Yeah.
But 2005.
Yeah.
2017. Something bad went wrong in your head.
Yeah.
We call it the itch or the scratch.
The itch. So I guess gin and tonic at that time was really taking off. There was a real gin boom globally and in an Irish context as well. And we were looking at the market and we really said there's no Irish option here to pair with all this lovely product.
Was C&C and some of those other...
There is, yeah. The large British companies like Briffic now owned by Carlsberg, yep.
Oh, you got that one in? Well done.
I did. I mean, most of our... Maybe I'll take you through that in a little bit. Most of our competitors, all of our competitors are foreign domicile competitors. So Poachers is the only premium drinks company of scale operating in this space in the market.
That's a nice claim.
So, yeah, no, it is. It's like you say, a bit mad, Conal, when you start out. But a really interesting dynamic for us as a brand, and certainly one that's got a lot of resonance, certainly in the Irish market now.
But if you are sitting back home in Kilmuckridge and you're looking at all of the things that you could do, why tonic water?
Yeah, tonic water is good. Well, I guess at the time, we were looking at it and we were saying there aren't really any Irish soft drinks brands of note or of scale or of sufficient quality.
But you could have been making biscuits. You could have been making... Everybody was started to make gin. Right. Then they started making whiskey.
Yeah.
Then, there's always a fashion.
I guess like most businesses, or like a lot of businesses, there's an incremental piece to it. So you put out a product, and in this case, we made a tonic product with Irish rosemary and orange.
And who's this wee tonto now? Is this you? This is
us.
Was this Brendan?
This is Brendan. Yeah, this is Brendan. And I had a partner at the time, another guy who's a super guy involved in the drinks industry, and we were good friends. And so it was kind of
Did you know
our
anything
inception.
about tonic water?
I guess, Conal, I had a bit of exposure to the pub trade, but tonic water per se, I didn't
That's like
really.
me going in for a drink and deciding that I know how to run, I don't know, some series of pubs around the world. There's nothing to do with it.
I guess, the interesting thing about the gin market when it did kind of take off is it was a really interesting flavour profile, I found. And there were lots of interesting, it was like a broadening of the Irish palate, so to speak, from, when your old cork dry gin and tonic. So there was lots of really interesting things going on in that space.
With botanicals.
Botanicals.
That was a fancy name for it, wasn't it?
It was. Botanicals, yeah. I mean, I guess Ireland is a little like Provence with a bit more rain maybe, but our ingredients and what we produce here as a country is really impressive. And I think we're growing up as a country and recognizing how well we produce food and drink here and the ingredients we produce, but it's taken a while.
Now,
it's really taken
Poachers,
a while.
and one of the reasons that I had you in for Poachers, we'll talk about the Gaeilge as well.
Yeah.
But I'm going to put it up here for anybody who wants to see. There's Poachers. That is a gorgeous product. Mm-hmm. It is, taste-wise, it really
Appreciate
is.
That.
It is what it is. It's a premium product.
It is.
And it's gorgeous.
It 100%
So I can understand why you try to take on the big names.
Yeah.
But then, presumably, like all good businesses, they welcome competition not.
They do not.
They put up their elbows and try to smack the eye, the ear, the nose, the whatever.
Yeah. It's a great question.
How do you handle it?
It's a really good question. And it was a really challenging experience for us as a business. So I guess, just to put it in context, there are kind of two phases to Poachers, which is 2017 to 2020, or three phases. Then 2020 to 2022, which was COVID. And then 2022 onwards, where the brand really started to explode. But new entrants to markets aren't always welcomed by incumbents. And certainly a lot of the incumbents that, we would have mentioned maybe at the outset of the conversation and their partners here in an Irish market context wouldn't have been particularly receptive to what we were doing at the time. So you'll find all sorts of strategies in a market context to try and squash the brand early. If they perceive it as a threat, and clearly they did perceive it as a threat at the time, there's a lot of stuff going on there that was pretty nasty.
Names. What was the worst thing that happened to you?
You would have, even to this day, you would have companies going in, particularly when our brand really started to grow, you had companies going in saying, we'll take out all that Irish product and we'll replace it with this product and we'll give you something else as well. So that was a fairly common one.
A little sweetener,
whatever that looked like, Conal. Yeah. So that certainly was.
That happens in beer as well.
It does.
You're given a lot of money sometimes to change your taps.
Absolutely, it's a very cutthroat market. It's very commercial, and certainly where a new entrant is perceived as a threat, it's extremely cutthroat. So
how do you fight back?
So it's really interesting for a brand like us. So we're not in the alcohol business. We're in the soft drinks business. By proxy, we're in the alcohol business. But a key thing for our brand is to get to a margin, to get to a scalability piece where we have a cost of goods sold, where you're going out and you can compete with the big domicile, the big brands, the global brands that we've mentioned at the outset of the conversation. So really one of the big things for those brands is to try and squash you before you get to the cost of goods sold, to make your margin, to be able to operate the business below the line. And certainly for us, we just went into huge detail into our value chain. We re-engineered our value chain really cleverly to be able to...
Give me detail there.
Well, we have a lot of components in our value chain. Anything from glass to production to packing to ingredients. And because our sales were growing and our volume was growing fairly quickly, if we were able to re-engineer those value chain components to make the margin more quickly, we could put more effort in and more resources. We could hire more resources to grow the brand below the line. And we were able to do that. So I ended up out in Syria nearly looking for glass components to bring down our cost of glass obviously at a quality level. Yeah, it's crazy stuff like that. I guess from a strategic perspective, you do get to a point where suddenly you're operating in a margin, which in our business generally has to be 55, 60%. We're never going to operate a Coke's margin or Schweppes margin. but we're at a margin where we're a profitable company and where we're able to grow the brand below the line or operate the brand, take on the resources to grow the brand below the line. So really important piece. But really what they do is they try and squash you before you get there. And a lot of those companies are trying to do that, yeah.
And then how do you get one onto the shelf and two to be recommended? I mean, it's lots of word of mouth. But I came across your brand by accident.
Thank you. Yeah. So our customers, I mean, our customers include anything from Adair Manor, Cashel Palace, Chapter 1, Cliff House, really
Susie Street, which is the restaurant.
Great, Connell, fantastic, yeah. And then the really lovely thing about Poachers, because of the design framework and the quality of the products, we seem to be able to straddle that on the other end of the spectrum. So we do the very cool bar groups like Sheehan Group in Kerry, or the Animal Collective, or Colin Dolan Group. So these are big hospitality groups.
So have you zeroed in on them specifically? Is it? I mean, you are premium, so therefore you've gone after premium.
You have to have a premium. You have to have a premium proposition, and the quality of the product has to stand up over your competitors. You're really not getting any second chances there. But what we do as a brand in terms of our ingredients and what goes into Poachers is definitely a lot higher quality than what our competitors would be.
Tastefully, I mean, I'll say it again. I don't need to say it.
Yeah, no, it's nice. It is. It's
and
great.
Tell me about the design, because the design stands out as well. There's obviously a lot of thought gone into that.
There's a lot of thought gone into that. So if I take you back to the phases of the business for a second, so like there was phase 1, which was 2017 to 2020. We had an old brand framework there, and at the time we didn't really feel that reflected our modern Irish credentials, and that's the position we wanted to resonate with the customer. Just a great modern Irish brand, great tasting, and so as a result, we brought in our own designer, and we worked tirelessly for about 12 months over COVID to produce that design framework. And
you say 12 months?
Yeah, it took
a long time.
It probably didn't take 12 months. I mean, but from inception, from concept inception to getting the labels, producing them, getting everything right, like the attention to details.
What were you looking for? Obviously the standout, that's a given. But what was the feel that you're looking for?
Definitely, it had to be. We wanted to project a modern Irish. We wanted to project a modern Irish brand, and actually, it's a great question. The design looks quite abstract, but because Poachers is a natural product and we make it with natural ingredients, the actual design on the product this represents the soil, this represents the rainfall, this represents the river.
I'm going to show it there again.
Yeah.
That's the can.
That's a can. That's a soda can. That's the new soda business, which I'll tell you about as well.
Because you're not just tonic water.
No, absolutely. And
but you are thinking Ireland only. You can't be. You must be looking overseas.
Of course we are, yeah. So we're looking overseas, yeah.
So when you are saying you're projecting the modern Ireland and all the rest, we understand that. That's feeding into us.
Absolutely, yeah.
But possibly in London's Cafe Royal or whatever.
100%. I mean,
do they look for that, or do they prefer good ye old Ireland-y stuffy?
No, definitely the context has changed there. I mean, there's definitely a modern Irish dynamic which people are hooking into, and it's the old shillelagh and the Barona.
That's gone.
It's
and
gone,
yet
really.
You put Gaeilge onto your bread.
I did, because Gaeilge's great, right? I mean, it's like...
Well, I'd say that because I'm one of them.
I think it's lovely, yeah.
But that's fantastic that you've done that.
It's great. Yeah, I mean, as I say, it's resonant with what we do, and we're very proud of our Irish roots and our Irish credential. Yeah.
But if that goes to the Ritz or whatever in Britain...
It's still got English on the back of it as well.
But will you keep the Gaeilge on it?
Of course we will, yeah.
Will you?
Absolutely, 100%.
And then, like, to ship that product, that's expensive.
It is, yeah.
So do you have to make it over there?
You can build relationships with, I mean, the brand is, the wholesale market is generally how the brand operates. Like, we would have direct customers here in Ireland, but generally we would have relationships with most of the wholesale channels here in Ireland. So they'd be your large partners like, say, Classic Drinks or Cisco or Musgrave, for example. So you'd have relationships with those partners, and that's really how you bring the product to market. But it's your responsibility to drive the growth, drive the brand, drive the resonance with customers. That's all. And
the resonance with customers, that then brings you into the whole marketing and advertising. And that is another money pit.
It is.
So, how do you do that?
I think, to be honest, you're really spinning plates, because you're looking at finite pool of resources, and you're spinning plates, and you're spinning them quickly, because one plate can go at a junction and you have to readjust it fairly quickly. But absolutely the marketing piece, we've a great brand team. Terry Cooper, who you met earlier there, super. But we've a super brand team across Poachers, and it's a big piece of the business.
Well, is it almost the essence of the business is the whole branding, marketing drive? Because I won't be rude, because the product is, as I say, tastes gorgeous.
Thank you, Conal,
but if you have that, like after that, it's drive. I presume, which is presumably marketing, sales, marketing, sales.
I think brands of our size, sometimes you can put too much emphasis on marketing.
Interesting.
I think really you have to build an infrastructure. Part of the reason Poachers has grown the way it's grown in Ireland in an Irish market context is we've been able to fracture all those wholesale and all sales relationships that the Coca-Cola and I won't name the other Briffics and all those guys have enjoyed for so many years, but you have to be able to break into that network, because if you can't break that network, it doesn't matter how well your product looks, how well it tastes, you have to be able to break that.
This is my standard pub quiz question. What does Britvic stand for? Do you remember?
I actually don't. I'm
it's
ashamed
the
to
British
say.
Vitamin Company. There
you go.
Well,
that's good to know.
Now, Poachers.
Yeah.
Where did the name come from?
So basically, on the family farm at home, there was a spring at the end of the farm. We have a lovely orchard there on 4 or 5 acres. There's a spring at the end of the farm. And the story goes that basically the poachers in the end of the 18th century used to come up and put their vats in the spring, fill their vats with water and go out and poach on the land. And that is where the name Poachers came from. So originally it was Poachers Well, because that's what the spring was called. And that's where the name, so we extrapolated out and it was just Poachers, yeah.
And when you are selling at Poachers, did you go through 1, 5, 10, 20, 400 different names, or did you?
No, we had Poachers Well, and then we shortened it to Poachers. It was always such a strong brand story, because it talked about all those credentials that we wanted to reflect in the product, like the natural piece and obviously the Irish.
And am I right in saying you started with the tonic, but now, I mean, you have
We've got a bit
wide.
Yeah, so our business has really grown.
How many have you got now?
So we've about 11 in our brand team. Yeah. We've a 7-figure turnover, which for a small brand from where we came from is incredible. Yeah. As I said, it was that stage where you get past, you get your cogs to a certain level, you manage to scale it, and suddenly you've bit of extra resources to push into growing the business and growing the brand. And that's kind of
you can do what is called in the business over trade, as in you can actually decide that you can go too big too quickly.
You could. I mean, like in fairness, you learn so much, Conal. It comes back to your original question, like why, how did you end up getting into this? But I mean, if I could have gone back and talked to myself 7 or 8 years ago, the lessons I would have taught myself back then were,
every person
sure it's
in
experience, right?
Says that.
Yeah.
But if only.
But
so you've obviously been sitting down looking at projections and all. So when do you need cash to grow?
Yeah, no, definitely. It's definitely on the radar now. Yeah, so we'd definitely be looking to raise some money,
from
some
what
capital.
Kind of sources?
Well, private equity, possibly. I mean, the business to this point has largely been self-funded, so which is totally amazing as well. I have to pinch myself around that, certainly to get to the scale that we're at. So yeah, so definitely we're at a point now where we've obviously a new soda business as well, which is, I guess, the really exciting thing about the soda business for us is that it's an extension of what we do in terms of the natural drinks here, but it's reaching the end customer for the first time. So like you said at the outset of the conversation, like you hadn't seen the brand before. So this really is our first foray to touch the end customer.
What do you actually mean by that?
So basically up to say 2 years ago, we would have been a trade brand, largely a trade brand. So yes, you would have found us in nice little places like Avoca and Donnybrook Fair and Lots & Co. In bottles, but this is now proper scalability in terms of actually targeting the end customer in a retail context, as opposed to just a trade context.
And if you go into retail, are you going to go into the ones that you just mentioned are kind of the expensive end?
Yes, yeah.
Are you going to go mid-market?
It's interesting. I was having a conversation with Terry there recently, and because you're always looking at your customer segments and those demographics, and we just launched in Duns, so about 45, in about 45 stores.
And
so
done.
That's
Duns
going to be exciting.
On,
it's challenging. I mean, Duns is a business in itself, so that's going to be exciting.
A reasonable amount about Duns.
Yeah. Great. In fairness,
squeezed a little bit. Maybe?
Well, supportive now. In fairness to them, really good, very supportive of the brand. But yeah, so look, we've relationships there with Musgrave and Super Value that we'll develop. But
to go back to Duns, so you end up on a shelf in Duns.
Yes.
Trying to stand out.
It's very
Again,
difficult.
yeah.
I was in the Duns by Georgia Street there recently, and nice little ad hoc, but we're going to get a fridge in there, which is great. But I mean, when you more cost, right? But when you look at the fridges there, I mean, they're all UK domicile brands on the fridge. I mean, it's everything from Coke and whatever Briffic brands, but these are brands that, you know, scalability wise, they're all coming over from the UK because 50 million people in the UK, right? So they're all producing these brands at scale. They always got their COGS down to a great level, and I mean, they're profitable, very profitable businesses. But so you have to go in there and you have to really be like, your value proposition for the end customer has to be very crisp and very clear, because you've got to make it work. Yeah, you've got to make it work. Yeah, you've got to make it work on the shelf. Yeah.
And when you switched, you didn't switch over, when you expanded into...
It's an extension, right? Yeah.
Yeah, extension. And do you go further? Will we ever see a Poachers Cola?
You will.
Will we?
You will, yeah, definitely, yeah, 100%.
You really have ambitions, don't you?
Yeah, no, definitely you will see Poachers Cola for sure. It's definitely on the radar
And
there. Probably sooner than you think, Connell, yeah.
Oh, did I touch
Yeah,
on
so
something
that's exciting,
there?
right? Yeah. So
But when you are trying to create a cola, there is that dominant one or two dominant ones. How do you again differentiate? Must it be taste? Because they tried changing taste and it was a disaster.
Yeah.
And
Taste is always a key driver. Like the products have to taste great. I mean, that's always been our MO for Poachers. We'd never put anything in the market that we don't think tastes absolutely great. And I think the general market around the big drinks category is changing fairly rapidly. You know, these large preserve, the Coca-Colas, and you know, I 10 years down the road, I mean, they're using their wholesale power to keep hold of that. But you just see a changing customer, changing dynamic, particularly in the, you know, 20 to 30-year-old AB demographic. And even outside of that, like, there's definitely a change there. So really opportunities all the time.
I love the way that you talk about the 20 to 30 AB demographic.
Younger than me, Connell.
I'd say you're very interesting to be to have a chat with them.
But it is interesting. I think the market is changing
now, because you've seen it with whiskey. Whiskey has gone down. Gin has gone down. And then, well, first of all, what are you looking to next? Is it rum, or what's the next big one? And how do you follow that? Are you watching all of the time to see what's on the up, and can we have a tipple for that?
You definitely are. You're always trying to follow what's going on in the market in terms of trends. I mean, we're lucky in the sense that from the mixer piece of the business, we're a complement to all these products. So, for example, you will drink our ginger beer with Galway chili with rum. You'll drink our ginger ale with Irish apple with, say, whiskey, with good Irish whiskey. Obviously, the tonic products are tonic. We do a lovely soda water, which is a little bit made with... It's a little bit more saline than you would generally get. It's really nice it's actually really nice over ice.
And so all of that product development, has that been done here in Ireland?
Yes, we do everything here in Ireland.
Taste,
Absolutely.
endlessly taste.
Absolutely, like it's constant. You're always checking your product quality, always checking your product.
And go back, say on the tonic, because that has a distinctive taste in it, which is, yet again, I'll say it. It's
Thank you, Connell. Your wife obviously enjoyed it.
When you're trying to keep a consistency across, I was going to say thousands, probably hundreds of thousands of bottles eventually. Millions.
Millions.
How do you
you're constantly, I mean, I'm not there anymore, but most productions, so generally our production run for us would be about 500,000 or 750,000 bottles, something like that. So you're constantly checking.
I'm just doing the maths.
Yeah.
Like cash.
Yeah.
That's a big inventory.
It's a big inventory, right? So that's what I was saying at the outset of the conversation. Like, you are managing so many components in terms of bringing those into your value chain. Looking at, I mean, we have an amazing ops director who's fortunately taken a lot of that pressure off me. And like, it's a lot to manage. Yeah. There's ships that get delayed and all sorts of stuff like that. So
everything.
It's a big, it's a lot of spinning plates.
And at some stage, Deloitte would have taught you that the idea is build a business and sell it.
Yeah.
Is that the idea?
Not at the moment. Like, we really want to, I guess for us, the big thing is to make sure we're a national brand here. I mean, I think for a lot of brands, export markets can be quite illusory in the sense that you need resources for export markets. I'm not saying we have active export markets, but I just think for younger brands as well, and we're still a young brand, but you need to make, you have to be succeeding in your home market. That's generally where you will make the lion's share of your success, and then export markets become an ancillary to that, and then obviously a bigger ancillary because of the size of them. Yeah. But you have to be. People have to be coming to Ireland and going, as they do. I mean, we get emails from Adair Manor from Americans coming back from a dairy man, must be a dairy manor anyway, I'm presuming it is, every couple of weeks saying, "Thank you, sir. I had an amazing vodka and tonic," and literally it's amazing.
So
Yeah, it's
cool.
cool, right? Yeah.
But I presume they're also saying, where can I buy it
I
in
had one yesterday.
Nebraska?
Well, there is that. We had one yesterday from a gentleman called Bray Manderson.
Bray, great
So
name.
he said, "Sir, dear sir, it is the most amazing vodka and tonic I have ever had at a dairy manor." Anyway, long story.
But do they want it over in the
They
States?
do want it in the States, yeah.
And are you going to
Yeah.
ship it to the
We
States? That's
will.
even further
Yeah,
away.
There's a couple of conversations going on there now.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's really good.
I always want to know, what could the listeners of That Great Business Show do for you? Is there anything that we support
Do you
businesses?
know what? It's great just to come on and chat about the business. It's nearly therapeutic in itself. And
I could talk to you for the rest of your life. You've got a business to run. This is what I do for a living.
Yeah. No, it's actually nice to come on and talk about it sometimes, and because it becomes quite like you're constant
Of course,
communication to
yeah,
your brand team, and you can get quite so to come on and talk about it with a third party and is always nice. Yeah, it's always nice, and it's kind of a head check as well for yourself, so you're kind of okay, this is where we're at. Yeah.
When will you fund?
I would say sometime in the next 6 months. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so
Yeah. Definitely.
very good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, again, if you want to come back on, and we'll give you a big shout out for that.
Thank you, Conal.
Final
Yeah,
question we
appreciate
ask
that,
everybody.
Yes.
Who would you hire in a heartbeat?
Yeah. So I was thinking about this, and it's not the most radical choice, but I'm actually going to say Michael O'Leary.
Do you know?
I just think he'd done a fantastic job. I think he's a great guy for the country. What he was up against to grow that business, Ryanair. I mean, the capitalization of those companies he had to compete against. I mean, it's an amazing job he's done. What a job.
Well, I'll tell you a story. You have not seen the previous guest on this episode.
Okay.
His choice
Was
Brendan
Michael O'Leary.
Kavanagh was Michael O'Leary.
There you go. Sorry. I
And
didn't see that
no,
one.
not at all. And
Sorry,
that's not
Michael.
a problem, because I so agree. We give out about him.
Oh, he's super
But he
guy.
transformed,
He transformed
this
it. He
little
did,
country.
totally.
I want to remind people,
Yeah.
when you took out a mortgage to get to London,
Absolutely.
and another mortgage to get back.
Absolutely. And I mean, culturally, everything he was bringing in, I mean, it's fantastic. It's great. Yeah, super job.
Well, I'll tell you all the stories about him later.
Okay.
That should be very funny as
Yeah.
well. That is a super story, Brendan.
Yeah.
Anybody who wants to have a gin and tonic or any other drink,
Yeah, you can-
Poachers,
yeah.
Poachers.
Thank
Brilliant.
you, Conal. Appreciate that.
Oh, not at
Yeah,
all.
yeah.
I'm
Pleasure
delighted
being
to
on
help.
now. Yeah.
And we back business. We back Brave. How about
That's
that?
great.
Or
Good
as
to
somebody
know.
else was rude
Or crazy. One or the other.
No, somebody was very rude about that ad recently and said, we back certainty.
Okay.
Oops.
Well, thank you for having me on. Really appreciate
That
it.
is Brendan Colbert of Poachers Drinks, plural now, and you'll find it in any, as they say, good store.
Dunn's
And
stores,
Dunn's as
Evoke,
well,
you'll
yeah.
see in WH Smith in the airport. Yeah. Loads of any good quality retailers, Lots & Co, Morton's, Donnybrook Fair. Yeah, all those kind of spots.
Expensive ones.
Yeah, well.
Dunn's is value.
Dunn's is good value.
Better value.
It's good
be
value,
small.
Conal. It's a great product. It's a good product.
I
Yeah,
want to
good
have the
product.
Dunn Stores people in here.
Yeah.
I mean, they're in
They're, in
another.
fairness,
They're not
very
unlike
supportive.
Michael O'Leary.
Yeah,
as
yeah,
in,
yeah.
brilliant story.
Yeah, no, really
And
good
taking
guy.
on the Tesco's and all the
And
rest. Yeah.
absolutely, yeah, fantastic. Yeah.
We'll try. I have tried. Anyway, that is it for episode 256 of That Great Business Show. As you know, we are officially Ireland's best business podcast. Why? Because UCD Smurfit Business School that he went to.
I did love that, actually. Told me to read the newspaper, which is great.
Well, probably the racing pages and stuff.
That's it. Yeah.
And we are brought to you thanks to our backer, which is De Facto Shaving Oil. That is the world's best shaving oil. And it is made from all natural ingredients, so you can put it anywhere. And it is sold online to the world from Mayo, defactoshave.com. Now, please repost us on LinkedIn. Don't give us all those likes. They're lovely. Repost is the one that goes to all of your followers. That means we get thousands more that way. And if you want to feature, either you make drinks that have mixers that I follow up on in Susie Street, or find us on LinkedIn. So thank you today to, we had Lee Brennan and Richard Ryan on Vision, because we don't just do audio anymore. And you will find us as well nowadays on YouTube, as well as on all of the great platforms like Spotify. Later on, Ireland's Viscount of Vision, that is Peter Rice, who is the MD here at the Dublin South FM studios. He will do the full test card. I like saying we do a full test card. He'll check us out for skin colour, tone and everything else like that. And as we always say, thank you, studio. For me, Conal Moran, buchas to you all, agus slán tamil.